Hi, Justin. Welcome to If Innovation Could Talk.
Hi Eva, thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Now, Justin, your own hearing loss helps you to understand firsthand what it's like when someone suffers from hearing loss and also what it's like to regain hearing or gain hearing. Now, tell us, what does innovation mean to you?
For me, I actually was one of the lucky few where I had a form of deafness, otosclerosis, that they can actually fix with an operation. So I was one of the lucky few that could actually have hearing repaired. So for me, I suffered from hearing loss, but then I was actually got it back in one go. So I truly understood, because you don't lose some people lose hearing straight away, but most people lose hearing over time. So it's a gradual decline. So you don't necessarily fully recognize what you're living without. So that recognition of getting it all back in one hit was fascinating for me in terms of what I was coping with. So from that perspective, hearing loss had a big impact on my life, and was one of the motivations to start Nuheara with my co-founder David Cannington, to try and solve some of the problems associated with hearing loss, primarily in accessibility and affordability.
So a little bit tells me, I hear, that you use the extra 1% a lot. Now, in the innovation space, how does that extra 1% help you make a difference?
Look, I use 1% quite a bit actually. It is the difference in startup. You do have to go that extra yard in order to the extra meter. Sorry. To get results. You're behind the eight ball. There are bigger companies. There are more well-funded companies. There are lots of ideas out there. There are lots of good products out there. But we also know that for every 99 good products, only probably one of them succeed. So what's that 1% extra? What's that 1% that we can do to make ourselves different, to make ourselves stand out, to make ourselves better than everyone else? I think it's highly relevant to a startup organisation in acknowledging that we're a little bit further behind than everyone else.
When I visited your office, I noticed that you're surrounded by a great team. So as a startup CEO, how do you build an incredible team?
How we go about it here is, we're very inclusive. In fact, there's a major proportion of our business where of our staff are born overseas. More than 3/4 of our staff are born overseas, and now call Perth and Australia home. And I think that's significant for our state. I think it's significant for our company. And the right people come in many shapes, forms, and sizes. And I'm proud to say that we're as diverse as probably any company out there. And that's I think part of the reason for our success.
Now, finally, as you have been successful in using disruptive technology to solve a very major challenge, which is hearing challenge in this case, can you think back to anything you wish you had known when you started that journey? And would you share that advice with us?
Yeah, look, just to give you a little bit of background around the hearing market, it's dominated by 5 big organisations. It's a $10 billion plus per annum global market. 5 companies have 95% of that market. So very difficult market to crack into. But they traditionally cater to the upper echelons of hearing loss. So unfortunately, the bottom end of that market are missing out. And a lot of that's due to affordability. The average cost of a pair of hearing aids is $5,000, and it's very time consuming and laborious process. So we saw an opportunity because most of the hearing loss is in the early stages. And we saw an opportunity to build a product, and I'm wearing the product today, that could do a lot of different things. So more lifestyle product that would also compensate for some of those early stage hearing loss. And more importantly, make it affordable and accessible. Clearly, we've got customers and it's growing and people want a solution, but it's largely an uneducated market because hearing retail is actually an oxymoron. No one goes shopping for hearing until they are quite deaf and need a lot of support. The average age of a hearing aid wearer is 72, but you start losing your hearing at about 35. So many decades where people just live with it, and that's an education process. So that is one of the big learnings for us. And we've had to pivot, we had to change our models to reach, to educate, and that's part of the learning. So yeah, we've we've learned a lot along the way, and pivot's probably an overused word in this space, but it's very necessary in order to survive, so that ultimately you can thrive.
Justin, keep up the great work. It's impactful solution that you are taking to people who need it the most. Thank you so much for joining us on If Innovation Could Talk, and we'll see you again.
Thank you. For allowing us to spread Nuheara's word. Appreciate it.